Welcome to our podcast. This episode is going to be really helpful for you if you've tried to hire people and they didn't work out. You ended up wasting a lot of time. We've got my co-host, but also my guest today as I interview Ryan Haywood from Heritage Home Investments. Now, you've heard his story. He started in 2019. He actually had a job selling internet and they cut his commissions. He felt like that wasn't quite right. So he quit. And he was about to have his third child at the time. So that put a little bit of pressure on, but it didn't stop him from quitting that job. His wife suggested a wholesaling challenge when she saw it online. So I think Ryan was backed up against a wall. Not really a big social media fan, but he didn't have any better ideas at the time, is from what I gather. And it turned out he's really good at it. So he ended up getting his first deal for $8,500 in 2 weeks during the challenge. And he got the deal under contract. Then he put it on Facebook Marketplace, and he sold it for $8,500 more than what he had under contract for in St. Joe, Missouri. So it's about 45 minutes outside of Kansas City, from what I understand. Is that about right?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. And then somehow you did 70 deals in 1 year, which is pretty astounding. You have done 400 deals last year total, right? So from 2019 to 2024, your total deal count crossed 400 deals last year.
Yeah, we're over the 400 mark, probably close at this stage to like 460. And we hopefully this year will hit the 500 mark. So
yeah, so mostly single family homes, but you have also done a mobile home park. And one thing that's unique was you were selling a lot of these properties to people who didn't live in St. Joe, Missouri, right? And you realized that they would buy the property and then they wouldn't fix up the property because they didn't know any contractors in the area. They would kind of struggle, maybe get busy and doing other things. So you felt for what was right in your community, it was making you look bad. Your community's small enough that everyone knows each other, right? And everyone knows who you are. Yep. And so you added on a construction arm to your services, right? So you found a contractor who had a crew, and so now you could turn around person you sold that wholesale deal to. You can also sell construction to. Is that right?
Correct.
But none of that, as amazing as it is, was necessarily what I plan on getting into today with you. What I plan on getting into you with is you've hired many people on your team, and you've more recently reduced your team. And you are kind of earning more profits, frankly, is what I've heard from you, right? So I wanted to dive into this if you're comfortable with it, because I know that like a lot of people listen to this, they're like, hey, well, I hired these people. But when they say hired, they found a person in their city on a Facebook group who's never done a deal before. And then they tried to set them up with a dialer and said, you go call these people, right? And then, there's no documentation. It ends up falling apart, or they invest a month into this person and then they decide to go on and do something completely different, or they get a deal and they don't give the original person a cut, which, there was no paperwork. So, write stuff down, people, first of all. And we've got a great agreement for that as well at DealMachine.com/JV. It's actually Ryan's JV agreement when you JV on a deal, but I digress. It's all beside the point. I want to hear about kind of what your path to making these decisions were to downsize when everybody else is wanting to scale up.
Yeah. To be honest, I fell into the trap of scaling. And I've had a lot of cool people work for me, but what I've learned over the course of time, and I think everybody in business knows that nobody's going to treat your business the way that you treat your business. And in the growth stages that we've had, we're fairly established now, going 6 years into this. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it. We know how to do it well. But there's an entirely different element to business when you bring a bunch of people in. When you have multiple salespeople, you have multiple acquisition, disposition, you have all these various different cold callers and all these people. It just adds the human element to a business where when you're doing it on your own and maybe you have a transaction coordinator, um, that piece of human element kind of goes out of it, and it's just you, and you can do things the way that you want to have them done and at your pace. And for me, kind of what happened is we were surrounded by a lot of people that were very focused on scaling, and it seemed like a really good idea. Like we were doing really well, and it's like, okay, how do we make this bigger and better? How do we make more money? And it was like, okay, scaling is, we have to do more deals in order to get more money. We have to grow our business. We have to do things differently. Um, so we started doing that. We brought in acquisition folks, we brought in disposition folks, we brought in cold callers. Um, and what we started to see was the percentage per deal that you have to use to keep those people in just kept growing. It was like, you this person's going to get 10% if they do this person's going to get 10% if they do this person's going to get, and eventually it was like we were close to 40%. And I remember sitting at one of our mastermind at Collective Genius, and it was like, the most you ever want to be is at 35%. And I even had that moment of panic. I'm like, man, I'm over 35% of my every deal goes out just for people, not even counting operating expenses, which your operating expenses grows every time you bring a new person on. You have to pay for email, you have to pay for access to apps, you have to pay for all these extra things. And it just continued to grow. I think we got to a point where we were paying close to 50% of every deal just to keep the business open. And
So are you saying that you're saying that overall bottom line, your company was 50% profitable and that wasn't profitable enough?
well, yes, that is what I'm saying, but you have to understand the amount of time that I was putting in to be 50% profitable versus the amount of time I was putting in to be 80 to 90% profitable was significantly different. And my number of hours that I was working per week had jumped so much just to manage this team. And I learned a lot. Like I have to say, probably a hardest admission is maybe not a great implementer and maybe not the greatest team leader, but I'm okay with that because that's not maybe what I was planning to do anyway. It was just like, okay, this seems like the natural next step to scale. Let's do this. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this time working. I'm spending all this time dealing with stuff that's just not my cup of tea. Not to mention, like I said, the human element. You have multiple different people and multiple different personalities that may not get along. And then you're the HR department. And
Yeah.
again, that's not my strong suit. So was it just managing a team that's self-motivated to go out and get deals? No, it was managing a team that needed to be, pushed to go and get this many deals added and do this many cold calls and do this to get to this number. And hey, we have to hit this number just to make sure that I get paid what I need to get paid for this to be good. And then you get to the point where it's just like, this is so much work to push people to do this that it's not like hands off, it's not passive, it's not worth the growth. And you start feeling some symptoms of like, okay, we're not doing as many deals, so I'm going to get involved. I'm going to go back out and I'm going to do some acquisition on my own just to give the team a little spark. And I go out and I'll get 5 deals, and then it's like, oh cool, we got 5 deals, we had a great month. And then I kind of step back and I'm like, okay, I'm letting the team do what they're supposed to do. I showed you guys it's totally possible, we're not having issues. And then it's like, oh, we got 0 or 1 again. And so your operating cost, unfortunately, it's not like you only have to pay if you do well. You have to pay no matter what. All this software and all the stuff that you have to make deals, you have to pay for that, no matter if you're doing deals or not. You have to spend
So,
marketing.
right. So, what were the positions you had before, and what are the positions you still have now? Because it's not just you.
No, I'm not alone. We had acquisition, we had 2 acquisition reps. We had a disposition rep. We had a virtual assistant. We had a cold caller, um, and then myself, who was just kind of like a free floater. I would do whatever needed to be done.
Yeah.
We have a COO. So we at one point, I think we had 8 bodies involved.
Got it.
Now we're down to 3. So I've got myself, Clint, our COO, whose position really manages the construction, but he also has really strong relationships with our buyers. And so his strength is in managing the construction jobs, but also managing disposition stuff. And then myself, I handle making sure all of our marketing stays on track. I go on all the appointments. I negotiate the contracts, which is my strength. And then we have a transaction coordinator, and she takes care of all the paperwork and communication with title company and the other parties, seller and buyer. So 3-headed monster, but our profits are back almost exactly to that 80-90% mark, which makes me, and I'm spending significantly less time working. I can work 3 days a week, and really in that 3 days a week, maybe 6 hours each day, and then I have time to be with the family. I have time to go and do the things that I love to do, um, and it just feels so much better. But it was a
So
very hard decision.
it's you, Clint, and the transaction coordinator.
Yep.
Nice. Well, I think it was a really smart move for the transaction coordinator because to keep that person because it's like a specialized assistant, right?
Yep. Yep.
So she could,
She's focused on keeping the deal going towards close. And that takes a lot of time. There's a lot
yeah.
of going back and forth between, we need signatures, we need documents, and just making sure every deal closes when it's supposed to close. That's time consuming. But so is like managing construction. That was also incredibly time consuming. And so having those 2 things off my plate so I can really focus on going on appointments and making strong offers was huge.
Got it. So, and Clint also will help you with going on appointments if needed, if you're out of town, right? He's
Oh
capable
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, Clint is he we've both we were both fully capable of running the business solo. We both have that same approach. We get along really well too. That always helps. Like being a trusted business partner, but a friend as well. I can count on Clint if I say, "Hey, I can't make it to this appointment because I have to go to do this today." He's got it. Or, "Hey, I'm going to be on vacation this week." He's got it. I literally can go on vacation and do nothing because I know that Clint is doing everything that he needs to do to keep everything going as well. He understands the importance of getting deals because that depends on a paycheck. So really finding the people that are motivated to do what they need to do to keep their income levels was a struggle. Like, I got to talk about that a little bit. Like, one of the biggest struggles of finding people was finding people that are motivated. People can be motivated, but then they lose motivation quickly too. And it's like, I'm not a great resource to keep you motivated to do this every single day. Like, you go out, and I know the sales world is tough. Like, you go out and you earn a bunch of commission, and then you can kind of like sandbag it until next month. But when you're running a business and you see that, it's really hard because it's like you are not seeing the what's coming down the road by you taking your foot off the pedal. And by you taking your foot off the pedal, it puts our timeline between closings like bigger instead of being consistent because you're just doing what you're supposed to do. But when it's just me, I can have the consistency to make sure every other week we have a closing or multiple closings, or every week we have closings. But I can control that. And I'm always looking at the numbers. And that's another thing too. It's just like a lot of people don't care about the numbers. They just want the deal. But I can see like, oh, I need to go and do this many pieces of mail. I need to go and get this many cold calls done. I need to go and get this many appointments to get this. And I can make sure that those results or those things are met every single month. And that keeps consistency. So I coach myself on go and do this because that's what brings consistency across the board. And it just feels a lot better. It gives you more freedom to do the things you really want to do.
Got it. Well, congrats on making a move that's made a immediate difference to your bottom line and quality of life. A little bit
For sure.
counterintuitive, but not totally unheard of. You know, one of the bigger accountants in the space for wholesalers, Marcus
Mhm.
Kriegler, he posted on Facebook around the same time that said the numbers are out. The bigger you scale, the less you make
Yeah.
for investors. So it's not to say that you can't scale, but
Right.
it's something that is very common. It's a trend in
I
some of
think
these
that
higher volume wholesalers right now.
it's really easy to fall into that. I call it a trap. Honestly, it's kind of a trap. Like the idea of scaling can be a trap. If that's not, you have to understand going into, if you're considering the idea of scaling, understand why are you scaling? Because if the reason you're scaling doesn't match why are you doing wholesaling, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. The reason for me of why am I wholesaling, it was to give me more time as a father, more time to just be Ryan, to be myself and find myself after coming out of years of corporate world. You lose yourself a little bit. You become like a piece of the machine and you lose who you are as an individual. So allowing myself to have time for me, allowing myself to have time for my family and to do all the things we want to do. I don't want to be limited. I don't have to take days off to go and do this or this or this. I want absolute freedom. So if scaling does not provide that for you, then just stay small. It's okay. And really, I would encourage people to just be okay with the small stuff. That doesn't mean you're going to make less money at all. Stay small. You'll make more money. I know that for me, last month, we made 5 times what we would have normally made on a month of equal amount of closings. We made 5 times that dollar amount just because we pulled back and took a lot of it back on our own shoulders and are doing all the work on our own. We increased by 5 times. That's huge, man. Like that amount of increased revenue causes better sleep, like causes better happiness around the house. And it gave me a lot more time to just do the things I want to do. And so,
Oh yeah, stress can do nasty stuff to your
oh,
body, to your
terrible.
relationships. It doesn't. You're tuned out to what's
Yep.
going on around you because you're focused in your head on what's stressing you out.
Yeah. And but you feel in that level of growth, you feel like you have to scale. Like in order to keep up with everybody else, you feel like, well, I got to go get an acquisition manager. I got to get a disposition manager. I got to do 10 times more marketing. No, you don't. Like, what is that going to give you? Yeah, it's going to generate more revenue, but it's also going to bring a whole new level of headache that you're not prepared for. And even while I'm surrounded by people that are going to help me prepare for it. Yeah, but do you really want that? Like, are you really that good of an operator to be able to handle 15 employees or 8 employees? Is that really your strong suit? And I've led great teams in previous jobs. I've had tremendous success in previous jobs, but the map was already made for me. I already knew what we were going to do. It wasn't something that I was kind of creating along the way or implementing along the way. I already knew. I ran a collections floor at a collections agency. I already knew how to do that because it was already prepared. The map was already made. I didn't have to do it along the way. When you're scaling, you're you're building it all while you're scaling, and a lot can get lost, and then you're having to backtrack, and then it just becomes a big complicated mess.
Mm. Well, I'm excited that you're really happy, that you're less stressed, that you're saying things
So
are
much more.
lighter at home. I've certainly had periods of time that were really stressful in my life, and specifically around 2021, it was my first time in business that my business wasn't just going straight up. So it was a little bit unique. I wasn't sure what was going to happen because I've never had a struggle in business until that point before. And I know I made a mistake of only doubling down what I was doing to try and solve the problem like Superman. And I didn't talk to peers. I certainly didn't talk to friends. Didn't talk to my girlfriend much at the time because I'm just working.
Yeah.
And I was not sleeping well. It was a really terrible, terrible disaster moment. And it's all because I just didn't handle it in the best way. Right. So, things I would have done differently would have been talk to peers, go talk to a coach or potential coach, utilize my team instead of just trying to save it, for myself. So those are all things that I would have gone outward rather than just inward during a tough
Mhm.
time. So hopefully that's helpful. And certainly it doesn't seem like you fell into those same issues, but just thought I'd bring it up since, hearing about, a little stress is a big impact on other things. I definitely understand from my own experience.
Yeah, we did actually find, I think it was probably 2023 into 2024, we felt like that we weren't doing as many deals and it was hard to get deals, but it was kind of a phenomenon, and I hate, again, saying some of these things out loud is tough, but it's just true. When I would get involved in the business, things would get better. And that was a tough pill for me to swallow, because at home Megan would be telling me, you need to go and do it. And it's like, I have a team. I just need to get the team to do what they're supposed to do, and then everything will get better. Well, I need to spend more time coaching. And then I get home and she's like, I'm telling you, you need to get back into doing it. And after hearing your spouse saying those things, after a while, it gets a little bit easier to just, okay, I'm just gonna do exactly what she's telling me to do. And I don't know, there's a level of, I didn't want to look like a failure. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being really vulnerable here, but I didn't want to look like Ryan Haywood has this level of success, and by scaling back, I'm going to look like I'm losing. But at the same time, being honest with myself and saying, I didn't want that anyway. Like, the idea of scaling sounded cool, but then I tried it and I was like, I don't like this, and it's not me. So being okay with that not being me, what's more important, looking the part or being happy? And it was tough though, because like I being in a mastermind and like building a name for myself, building a story for myself, and then that feeling of, if I go backward, I'm not going to be as successful. And I bounced that off of several people that were in my close group of like, by doing this, I'm going to feel like a failure. And just even asking him, is that true? Am I going to be a failure? And so many people were like, no, dude, like, but you can't tell when you're in the midst of it, when you're going through all of that, you can't tell, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. All you can see is what's in your head. And a lot of, usually, like, making tough decisions, like pulling back, even though I didn't know, like, I didn't honestly know that it would get better this quickly. I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time working. But dude, it was such a fast bounce back that it's like, oh, what a breath of fresh air. Like, I have so much more time. I have, being able to be at home and present at home, like setting your phone aside and not worrying about if you miss a call, like knowing that it's going to be okay. Uh, that makes a big difference. So it was tough, but I don't feel like a loser anymore. Now I feel like, that was the right choice, and it was just the hard choice. But because I was so concerned about how am I going to look instead of how am I going to feel, and really that was the thing that mattered the most, is how am I going to feel.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have had the fear of what others will think of them, whether it's to scale back their business. I know for me, on my journey, which is different than yours, I had just hired 20 people, which raised expenses at a time when we started to have less traffic. So a very profitable business became break even and slightly unprofitable. So that
Hmm.
was scary because I didn't, in my circumstance, like I didn't want to just let everybody go, because they just quit their job to come trust me and work with me. Right. So
Yeah.
I didn't do that. But a lot of the fears we have when we feel like our back is against the wall is a worst case scenario that never actually happens. Right. So,
Yeah.
and that's repeated in this case right here. You said you were afraid people would think you were a failure, but you actually did it, and only good things happen. Only support happened,
Yeah.
right, from the people that you asked. So good on you for asking in advance. That was the step I missed, right, of
Yeah.
when I was trying to decide what to do. So don't let fear stop you guys. Don't let fear hold you back. The thing you're fearing is the worst case scenario. In my case, I really don't think it's ever happened. Whatever the thing was that I was scared of, worst
Yeah.
case scenario, I don't think it ever happened. And it was just like cathartic to finally make the move, whatever the move happened to be.
Yeah. And because of what we go through every week, we're talking to people who are in this zone of they got their first deal done. And the I take myself back to my first deals, and the first year doing 72, that was a lot, but I did all of that with a small team. And the thing I didn't prepare for is I didn't know what it would be to grow a team. I just knew that I was going to do it. But those feelings of how much fun I had doing this kind of got lost too when you start scaling a team. I love wholesaling. I love the thrill of the sale. I love going through a house. I love looking at the house and seeing the vision for the house. I love negotiating a solid price that's going to allow me to make some money and also give another investor a great deal. I love that process. I don't love managing people that do all the fun things for me in exchange for a percentage of the income. I don't like that. I loved doing it in the first 2 years I was doing it. I went through a gap of a couple of years where I was trying to get everybody else to do it so that I could have time off to myself. But what really happened was I would just stress because it wasn't happening. Like, hey, we need to go get this done. We need to go get this done. Well, why aren't the phones ringing? Why aren't we going on appointments? Why aren't we negotiating solid prices? Why isn't people buying? Like all of the whys. And then it's like, okay, if I just go back to doing it myself, and now I'm having fun again. Like this last month, we got 19 houses under contract, and it's so much fun again to do wholesale. I'm like, that's what led me to do 73 in the first year, was how much fun I was having doing it. And I love just the process of it. I love the thrill of a sale. I've always been a sucker for the sales process, and that's my strong suit. So just be who you are. Like go get the deal, know why you're doing it. Go get the deal, and if it feels fun and exciting, just stay there. It's okay to just stay in that zone. You don't have to fall into a trap of scaling big. Not everybody is built for it. Marcus said the same thing. The numbers are out, the statistics are in. You make less money doing it, but you also change your job. Like you're not a wholesaler. You are a manager of a bunch of people. And if that's not what you want to do, you're exchanging it for something you're not going to enjoy. So
100%.
that's all I could say.
What have your students that you've told this to, I assume you gave them an update as well. What do they say?
I actually had a really good day yesterday with one of my students. I met him. I drove a couple hours south Missouri to play golf, and on the golf course we had a chance to discuss like what life looks like now that he'd gotten his first deal. Joe, his episode aired a couple days ago, I think. Now that he's got his first deal done, what does it look like? And they're in a season of change too. And I encouraged him based off of my experience to just accept it, for do a few deals every month. And if you get good at the process of negotiating, you can make more money. And that was something that I didn't know the first couple of years I was doing it. I was just trying to get deals done. And so I was just trying to get a $5,000 assignment fee. The reality is that you can get more on less deals if you become good at what you are doing. If you become good at estimating renovation costs, you can actually make yourself more money by negotiating a better purchase price for yourself. And it always starts at you always make money at the very beginning of the process, if that makes sense. So when you go and negotiate the purchase price of a house, that's when you're making your money. It's not when you close, it's right then. You have to negotiate a good price to make a good assignment fee. If you can do that, then going and getting the buyer at, and getting a good assignment fee is just a part of the process. But getting your money is done up front. So we talked about that, and just understanding you're going to feel an urge to scale, but you don't have to do that. Like, understand what becomes your position when you scale versus what you're doing right now are very different, and you don't have to do that. Just stay. And that seems to be a very easy thing for people to receive. And so that's so far the only experience I've had in like explaining that process.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we did have that
And that,
conversation. Like, I just literally I didn't let everybody go, but I pulled my team back to 3 from 8. So
yeah. Well, cool. Great update. Can't wait to see how this continues through the rest of the year. Anything else you want to drop before we wrap up today?
No, today is a fun day. I get to go to court for the first time. So
What are you doing in court today?
today in court, I have the county is actually filing a lawsuit against me for a nuisance. And
Mobile home
it
park.
sucks. What's that?
It was at your mobile home park, right?
Is my mobile home park. Yeah, we've got 11 lots, and one is a problem. We've done a really good job over 2 years of like, it was so distressed when we bought it.
Right.
Um, and we've done a really good job of cleaning up all but one. We've put in new electrical connections. We've put in a new mailbox system for these. We've cleared some of the lots completely off, so they're just gravel, and they can have a new RV placed on it. And it's next to a lake that's being renovated. But I have one lot that has not complied with our requests, and this is kind of a part of the plan, is to go to court and get the court to rule that it has to be done this way, to get it cleaned off, because they've just not been complying with us. So, but it's still a little intimidating because I feel like a bad guy now.
Got it. Yeah, you know the county pretty well, so
I
right?
do.
They know who you are.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're feeling pretty good walking into this, right? That you've got a lot stacked in your favor, good things you've done, and
Yeah, and I know why
you're
we're doing it.
yeah.
So I know it's not actually them mad at me. It's a part of the process to make, in order for us to get the lot cleared, we have to go the legal route, because they're not, the people that are living there. It's so messy. They're renting the trailer, that they're paying me for the lot, but they're also renting the trailer for someone else who doesn't want the trailer, and it's just so hard. So if we evict them, I have to evict the lady that owns the trailer, because she's the one that's paying me,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people that are in the trailer have to be evicted. So there's just so many like things that have to happen. It's not just evicting the people. So uh I know what we're going there for. Nobody's mad at me, but it's still intimidating to go into a county courthouse as the defendant.
Understood. Best of luck today, Ryan. Hope you enjoy it as well, because it's like a new experience.
Yeah, I'm up. And I did not lawyer up. I'm just going
What
in
I
to
mean,
kill it.
what's okay? Let's say they win.
Yeah,
What are we
that's
talking
the
about
plan.
fines wise? What's the biggest bad thing that could happen?
There's two things. A $3,000 fine, which is going to basically pay for the county to go and clear the lot off. That's
Okay.
that's the plan.
So really not too
Um,
bad.
no, I mean, I would spend $3,000 to have it done anyway. So it needs to be done. This is the easiest path forward. Um, so that I'm happy with. But yeah, that's the worst of it. I mean, you could. I don't think they can put me on like probation or anything, but that would be pretty fun.
Yeah. That
Be
would be
forced to
fun.
be home. Yeah, I'm gonna be. getting on probation for something like this would only be a good podcast episode. So
Yeah. Well,
I
there
would
you
have
go.
to put the
Anything.
podcast episode or podcast studio back at home though. So, well, we hope that doesn't happen.
Well, thanks for sharing, Ryan, and definitely, spoke from the heart throughout many parts of this episode, which I'm grateful for. And best of luck today as well. And anyone who would like to ask Ryan a question, go to Heritage Home Investments Instagram and go ask him a real estate question. And hope you guys can connect there. And hope you have a good rest of your day, man. Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.